Hello everyone, this flow focuses on opening up the hips. We'll be using a lot of flowing movements as well as some static stretches to get really deep into our hips, get a really nice stretch. As always, making sure you're modifying to suit your body. Let's go ahead and get started. So we'll begin in a comfortable seated position, our shoulders nice and down along our spine, sitting up really tall. Let's bring our hands to heart center and beginning to bring our attention to our breath. Lengthening out the inhale and the exhale. And we could begin to take some circles here on the spine, just warming up along our back, from our lumbar spine all the way up to our neck and shoulders. Just moving in a clockwise formation. We'll go ahead and switch directions, really coordinating our movement to our breath here. Breathing in as we come forward and exhaling as we move back. Feeling free to keep our eyes closed, just moving with our bodies. And we'll slowly begin to draw ourselves back to a neutral seated position. Taking a big roll in our shoulders, sending our shoulder blades down and along our back. Finding that good posture again. And let's go ahead and cross our left leg over top of our right leg for fire log pose. We're working towards getting our shins parallel here, so if that top knee is bumping up a bit, that's totally okay. You'll just stay sitting up nice and tall, working on pressing that knee down towards that opposite ankle, seeing if you can get your shins to lay flat on one another. If you've gotten there, you can go ahead and reach out forward, and opening up to one side, through center and over to the other. Just flowing out side to side, warming up. See if you can open a little bit more through your shoulder and your chest as you find your full expression to the left and to the right. And we'll go ahead and bring ourselves right back to center. Take a deep breath in. And as we exhale, allow ourselves to melt down flat to the floor. We'll walk our hands slightly over to the right side. And slightly over to the left. Beginning to find our way back to center and rolling ourselves up to seated. Another big roll in the shoulders. And we'll go ahead and switch sides. So crossing that right leg over the left, taking whatever variation you did on the other side that suits your body. Go ahead and inhale the arms up high and folding forward if that suits you. Go ahead and find that flow out side to side, from the right and to the left, just as we did on the other side. Just a few more here. Thinking about the inhale and the exhale as we move, finding our way right back to center and sinking down. Let's go ahead and walk our hands slightly over to the right. And through center to the left. We'll gently walk our hands right back to center and taking a big roll up, sitting up nice and tall. We'll go ahead and release that top leg, bringing the soles of our feet to touch, our knees out wide, and you can play around with how close your feet are to your hips or how far they are. Then we're going to try and open up the soles of our feet towards the ceiling like we're opening a little bit of a book there. Pressing the tops of our feet down towards flat on the mat. And go ahead and give your feet a gentle tug to pull yourselves forward a little bit deeper into the stretch, opening up the hips. And go ahead and gently release. We're going to cross at the ankles so we can bring ourselves onto all fours here. I'm going to turn to the side so my knees will be on my mat. And we're going to begin to work on some circles in the hips. So go ahead and just draw our knee up and out to the side. So it's like we're drawing a big circle with our knee. And everyone will look very different doing this flow. We're just using this to open up our hips, warm up our muscles a little bit, get our bodies moving. We'll go ahead and switch sides here. Keeping in mind to keep our core nice and engaged while we're doing these. And go ahead and bring that right knee down. We'll send our hips up high, find a down dog. And we'll go ahead and continue with the same flow here, right back on the left. And if you want to get a little bit more core work, you can draw your shoulders forward as you move forward to come right over your wrists. And go ahead and open up that hip, hold the static stretch for a few breaths here. And let's replace, we'll switch sides, right knee comes in the chest, opens up out to the right. One more, then we'll go ahead and hold it there, holding up. And we'll go ahead and replace that right leg, taking a deep breath in, coming up high in your toes, and as you exhale, pressing your heels a little bit closer to the mat. Go ahead and do this one more time. Inhale, lift up, and exhale as we come down. We'll take a really deep squat here, drawing our hips close to our heels, taking a few here. And exhale, lowering down. This time we're going to go ahead and drop our knees flat down on the floor, taking a wide-kneed child's pose. And we're going to begin to take some rolls for the shoulders and the back. So as we come forward, move through all fours, taking a big roll in the shoulders. Inhale, coming forward again, really bringing attention to our shoulder blades, rolling them down along our spine. As we pressing back, activate the stretch, pressing all the way through the hands, through the fingertips, really pressing our hips back towards our heels. This time as we come forward, we'll go ahead and tuck our toes, send our hips high, and begin to walk our feet up to meet our hands in a forward fold. We'll take some big bends here in the knees to warm up a little into the hamstrings. As we straighten out, try and find a nice flat back here, rolling the shoulders down. Nice and engaged. Take one more. And inhale as you come up, roll all the way through your neck, through your shoulders. Hands come up, find standing. And exhale as we lower down. Inhale and halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And let's go ahead and step that right leg back for a nice low lunge. You can hinge a little bit forward and back to bring the stretch a little deeper. We're going to begin to straighten out through that front leg. Exhale, hinge forward. So straightening and bending, moving into the hamstrings. And we'll go ahead and take one more here. We're going to hop our right foot up a little bit so our feet are about 3 feet apart for a pyramid pose. So you can choose to have your hands on your shin or on a block if you choose. I want you to work these little movements, just shifting the hips forward and back, finding where your hips are most level. It will probably be right where you feel the most stretch. And we'll go ahead and step that right foot back a little bit more, engage through the legs, and inhale and lift high, find a high lunge. And let's lower down on that back knee. Our hands can interlace at our knee if that feels good, or keep them above your head if you want a little bit more power in the stretch. Really sinking low, you should feel a big stretch through that right hip flexor. Inhale and rise a little. Exhale and sink deeper. This time as we rise, we'll go ahead and reverse the stretch. Just hinging forward and back gently. Don't worry about having your knee come completely straight. It's not the goal of the pose here. Maybe you stay a little longer forward or backward, wherever you feel more of a stretch. And we'll go ahead and bring ourselves forward, bringing our hands to the inside of that knee and toe heeling our left knee out to the side a little bit. We're finding ourselves in a really deep runner's lunge or lizard's pose, whatever you want to call it here. If you have the flexibility, go ahead and lower down onto your elbows, or if you have a block, you can bring your elbows to the block. It's a really nice in-between area there. Really breathing into all those tight places in your hip. This is a very deep stretch. And if you'd like to take a little twisted variation here, you can try and drop that right hip down towards the mat. It may not come all the way down, but sitting up nice and tall, seeing how that feels. We'll get a little more into the outer hip. Let's gently bring ourselves back up. Hopping both feet together here. We'll take an inhale, halfway lift and fold. Inhale brings us all the way up to standing. And exhale through heart center, forward fold. This time we'll go ahead and step our left leg back, taking those little hinges forward and back, just warming up into the hip. We'll move through all these same stretches on our left side. Let's begin to straighten out through that right leg and bend down. Straightening and bending. Go ahead and take a couple more here. Then we're gently going to hop that back foot up a foot or two to find our pyramid pose on this side. So either bring your hand to a shin, or blocks are great here. If you want a little bit more of a challenge for balance, maybe you wrap your hands around the back of your calf, or you can bring them to your hips or behind your back, and really any variation here. Working those little forward and back movements, really working into the hip. And we'll go ahead and sink low. That back knee comes all the way down to the ground. Then go ahead and release the hands to that front knee, getting a big stretch across our left hip flexor this time. We'll go ahead and inhale, lift a little, and sink low. One more lift, and exhale, sink down. Next time as we lift, we'll go ahead and reverse the stretch. And go ahead and take that flow just forward and back. Moving from hamstrings to hip flexors. And let's gently draw ourselves forward. Begin to bring our hands to the inside of that knee. And we'll take our really deep runner's lunge here. So if you like, you can begin to lower down onto your elbows. Or stay up high on your hands, whatever suits you. If you want a little bit of an extra stretch, maybe you pick that back knee up off the floor. Now if you tried that funky lizard pose variation on the other side, go ahead and do it on this side, dropping that left hip down to the mat, sitting up nice and tall. And let's slowly draw ourselves back to center, hopping that left foot back up to meet the right. We'll take a little halfway lift and then roll ourselves all the way up to standing. Exhale and fold. Let's go ahead and step our feet back, find a down dog here. And on our next inhale, we'll go ahead and send our right leg up tall. Exhale and bring it all the way forward and sending it tall, all the way into the chest. One more time, extend it back, building a little bit of fire here. And we'll go ahead and find a pigeon pose. So first engaging our inner thighs towards each other. So we're lifting ourselves up tall, supporting ourselves. Finding a strong pigeon, and as we exhale, allow yourselves to fold forward. Inhale and lift. Exhale and roll forward. Creating a little flow here. Exhale and roll forward. And this time we'll go ahead and hold there, really sinking into the hip. Taking this time to really focus on your breath and the intention of your practice. One more big breath in. And let it go. We'll slowly begin to press into our hands, lift ourselves up tall. If you'd like to find a little bit of a back bend here, you can reach your hands up. Eventually we're going to reach back and send our left leg high and begin pulling into the chest 2 more times. And pull it in. Go ahead and set up for your pigeon pose on this side. Now if it ever feels like too big of a stretch or too little of a stretch, you can adjust by how close your heel is to that front hip. So finding ourselves in our strong pigeon, and as we exhale, lowering down, inhale and rolling ourselves up, rolling down and up. One more. And go ahead and hold down the next time you're there. We'll reach our hands out long. Begin to sink into that hip, breathing deeply. We'll slowly begin to activate through the palms, beginning to press into the mat and lift our chest up tall. Inhaling as we reach both hands up and meeting at heart center. Let's go ahead and send our feet back into a down dog. And we'll gently step our right foot forward here so we can sink down into the hip. I guess if you guys are facing me, you'll be on your left side, but it doesn't matter. We'll do both sides. So you can either be up tall or you can sink down a little bit lower. It doesn't matter wherever you're at today. If you want to find a little more balance, you can bring your hands into heart center. And we're going to try and keep our seats low as we shift sides. And I'll show a few variations here. If you have a little less mobility in your hip, maybe you stay high on the hands, using them for support, no problem there. Really sinking low into each hip. Let's go ahead and hold on one side. If you guys love binds, you can try for a half bind or a full bind on one side and on the other. And we'll go ahead and release, taking a standing wide-legged forward fold here. Now you can make this stretch as active or as passive as you like. If you like, you can take a shoulder rinse by clasping your hands behind your back and allowing the weight of your hands to fall forward. Just allowing our head and neck to hang long here. Allowing gravity to do the work for us. Let's go ahead and release our hands. Maybe you wrap them around the backs of your legs to activate the stretch a little bit more and press your chest closer towards the ground. Taking one more deep breath in and release. We'll go ahead and drop our knees down to the mat, taking a final child's pose here to seal in our practice. I hope you guys enjoyed flowing with me today, and I hope your hips are feeling great. If you have any requests for more flows or poses for me to break down, go ahead and leave it in the comments.